Hello, welcome to another episode of In the Trenches with Gang Green. Today is our second installment of New York Jets player previews. On Monday, we had our first player preview episode of 2024. We broke down what to expect out of wide receiver Xavier Gipson and safety Chuck Clark. And today, on the Wednesday edition of the New York Jets player previews, we are going to break down right tackle Morgan Moses and cornerback DJ Reed. Before we begin, let me tell you about our podcast partners, starting with SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that delivers tickets from all over the internet and puts it into one site to make it easy for you. What makes SeatGeek so great is they rate each ticket from 0 to 10, so you know if you're getting a good deal or a bad deal on a seat that you are looking at. Green means good, yellow means okay, red means bad. Plus, my viewers, use promo code Bubs on Sports for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Click the link in the description down below. That'll take you to download the SeatGeek mobile app and use promo code Bubs on Sports for $20 off your first purchase. This is tickets for anything, not just sporting events, not just football, anything, plays, shows, concerts. If you can buy a ticket, SeatGeek has it. Use promo code Bubs on Sports for $20 off your first purchase at SeatGeek. Also, Huga House, proud sponsor, proud partner here of the podcast. Really enjoy teaming up with them. You've seen me rocking my Huga House hat here on the program. And if you want to get that hat or any of the hats that Aaron Rodgers is wearing, Shane Gillis, even Aaron Rodgers again, we'll throw another picture up here on the screen for the YouTube audience. Rolling into training camp yesterday, Aaron Rodgers was rocking his Egypt shirt and his Huga House hat. So if you want to get what QB1 is rocking, or many other New York Jets and many other athletes, many other celebrities, or even the hat that I rock all the time on the podcast, use promo code BUBS for 15% off any purchase at Huga House. All right, without further ado, now let's get into today's player preview episode. So first episode is in the books, Xavier Gipson, Chuck Clark. Now today, we're going to take a look at the trenches on offense, and we're going to take a look at the secondary once again on defense. So we will start here with Morgan Moses. Morgan Moses, 6'6", 320 pounds, 33 years old, was a 2014 third-round draft pick, 66th overall out of Virginia. This was a guy that is in his second stint with the New York Jets. Previously, he was with the Jets in 2021. He then left for Baltimore, where he spent 2 years there, and now he's back with New York. The Jets traded for Morgan Moses as one of their big offensive line acquisitions. Of course, the New York Jets brought in a three-headed monster in the offseason of John Simpson, Morgan Moses, and of course, Tyron Smith protecting Rodgers' blind side. So I'm really looking forward to breaking down the entirety of the New York Jets offensive line in these player preview episodes. But Morgan Moses, after spending 2 years in Baltimore, was dealt to New York this offseason. The Jets received Moses and a fourth-round pick, 134th overall. And the Ravens received a fourth-round pick, 112th overall, and a sixth-round pick, 218th overall. Both of those were in the draft. 10 seasons in the NFL. He is entering his 11th year. He spent the first 7 years of his career in Washington, and then he went to the Jets for 1 year in 2021, and then 2 years with Baltimore, and now entering his 11th season. He's back in Florham Park, back at One Jets Drive, and back with Gang Green. And it's funny, Morgan Moses was one of Joe Douglas's best signings when the New York Jets brought him in 2021. It was one of Joe Douglas's best moves he made early on as a general manager, and then he quickly turned into one of Douglas's worst moves when Douglas let him go, and the ramifications of that were pretty ugly. The Jets saw a lot of struggles up front. There was a lot of, the durability problems. Of course, Becton never panned out. The Jets, you had the whole situation there with George Fant, and things kind of collapsed up front. And Morgan Moses was a really, really good piece of that 2021 offensive line and a really good leader in the locker room. And that team took a hit when he left. So bringing him back is not only huge on the field, but it's also huge off the field. And this is a guy that, similar to the rest of the players that were brought in, John Simpson, of course, and even Tyron Smith, and even Olu Fashanu to an extent, being brought in with the 11th overall pick in the first round this year in the draft. All of these guys are going to be tasked with turning around an offensive line that was statistically the worst in football last year and statistically one of the worst we have ever seen. That's how bad that Jets offensive line was. So Morgan Moses is a huge piece, a big cog to this offensive line here in 2024 in terms of a full-on rebuild, 3 new offensive linemen, 3 new faces up front. Morgan Moses, one of those guys, and a guy that's already walking into this building respected. He was respected in 2021, really enjoyed his time with the Jets in 2021, 2 years away, back now in New York, and a guy that is really well liked. So when you look at some of the numbers here, we'll break down some of the numbers, and then we'll also get into, I guess, some of the durability concerns that I guess some Jets fans have, and rightfully so, coming off of last season. And I'll break down why I'm not really concerned with that. But from just what Morgan Moses brings from a on the field standpoint, this is a guy that's been around for a while, right? He's played 152 career NFL games dating back to 2014. He's entering his 11th season. This is a guy that's been around a lot. He has seen a lot. He's a veteran. He's experienced. He's played a lot of games. He's started a lot of games. This is a guy that's just got football, and football all in his background. Just a well-rounded veteran. And that's exactly what you want up front. A guy that's good in pass protection, very good in run protection. Overall, just a really, really solid veteran. When you look at his 2023 PFF grades, he had a 77.6 overall PFF grade. He had a 75.9 pass blocking grade, and he had a 77.2 run blocking grade. Now, there is a little bit of a note to put on top of that. Those numbers are solid. They're not eye-popping, but they were solid. But he put up those numbers while playing with a torn pec. This is a guy last season that played with a torn pec for the majority of the year and was still productive in Baltimore, was still one of the better all-around right tackles, one of the more underrated all-around right tackles when it comes to a pass protection and a run blocking standpoint in the NFL. And that was with a torn pec, and he played 14 games. He only missed 3 games despite all of that happening. On top of those PFF grades, when you look into some of the more in-depth stuff, he had an 84.6 PFF grade, overall grade since 2020. And his 88.4 run block grade is 6th among all tackles during that time. So one of the more underrated, again, not a guy that, is talked about a ton. Not an offensive lineman don't always get the positive treatment from the media. Usually if they're doing well, you don't talk about them. The only time you talk about them if they're doing bad. That's what a lot of people do. But these are numbers that are super impressive. 88.4 run block grade is 6th among all tackles since 2020. So run blocking wise would be a huge, huge factor for Breece Hall. And I think the entirety of this offensive line, Morgan Moses, a very, very good downhill blocker. Very good in space. And that's all positives. That'll all help this run scheme. That'll all help the run game and the way this run scheme is built. And you saw him have a lot of that success in Baltimore, a heavy run offense. Moses has that ability to get to the second level, has that ability to be productive in space, get downhill, lead the way. And you're going to see a lot of that Breece Hall running behind Moses a lot this season. A lot of times this season, you're going to see Breece Hall behind Morgan Moses, downhill blocking, Breece Hall getting into space, getting to the second level, and doing things that we all know Breece can do as one of the elite young running backs in the NFL. In his 1 year with the Jets, he had a 71 overall PFF grade, $5.5 million cap hit this season. Now, I want to get into some more advanced numbers when it comes to Morgan Moses. He's a very fun guy. I talked about Chuck Clark in the other episode. Moses is a very fun guy to break down because he really is very underrated. He's very, very good. And I don't think a lot of people quite realize that at times. how good Morgan Moses really is when he's healthy and he's 100%. And for the most part through his career, he's been healthy. And we'll get to that here in a little bit and why I'm not really concerned about him coming off a torn pec. But Morgan Moses, we talked more about the run blocking just now. When you look at some of his 2023 pass blocking stats rather, and where he ranks out of offensive tackles with 200 plus pass blocking snaps last year. 5.6 pressure rate. That was in the 65th percentile. 1.1% sack plus hit rate. That was in the 80th percentile. 3.30 seconds average time to pressure. That was in the 90th percentile. So we talk about the run blocking, and then you talk about what he was able to do, 65th percentile, 80th percentile, 90th percentile. This guy, in a lot of different metrics, was a top 10 right tackle, top 10 offensive tackle last season in the NFL, both from a run blocking standpoint and a pass blocking standpoint. And that's exactly what the Jets need, an all-around veteran just protector up front for Aaron Rodgers and, of course, Breece Hall. Because we're going to see a lot of great runs from Breece Hall behind Morgan Moses once he gets himself into space and gets to the second level. And that's where that ability to block and get downhill in space is a really, really positive part of his game that'll impact this team in a big, big way. Now, we talk about the torn pec that last year, right? You know, Tyron Smith, there's injury concerns. AVT, there's injury concerns. One of the biggest ifs with the Jets offensive line is the injuries. Can they stay healthy? I will tell you why I'm not really concerned about Morgan Moses is injury concerns. Okay. He has played 14 games in 9 straight seasons. The only year he has not played at least 14 games was his rookie year. He played just 8. He did play through a torn pec. He is coming off a torn pec. He's 33 years old. He had surgery. I get all of that. But this guy does not have a track record of injury history. We have to stop acting like he has a track record of injury history. That is not the case. Prior to last year, where he still played 14 games with a torn pec, which not many players in the NFL will do that. Prior to that, he played every game for every season dating back to 2014, which was his rookie year where he only played 8 games. After that point, from 2015 to 2022, Morgan Moses did not miss a game. He played all 16 games up until 2021 when the schedule changed to 17. Then he played all 17 with the Jets in 21 and played all 17 with the Ravens in 22. And even with a torn pec, still went out there and played 14 games. I'm not concerned about Morgan Moses' health. One of the biggest positives of Moses during his first tenure with the Jets was his ability to stay on the field and stay healthy. Just because of one injury, I'm not going to sit here and panic that Moses is going to go out here this year and only play 11, 12 games. No. Take away last season, and he had all those years in a row of playing every single game during his time in Washington and his 2 years between the Jets and the Ravens prior to last season. So I have all the trust in the world, of all the faith in the world. Moses can go out there and play at least 15 games this year. That's not really a concern. It's more of a concern for Tyron Smith, which we'll get to in later episodes. But that's your Morgan Moses player preview. A really fun player to get into. A really well-liked guy around the locker room. And I think some of Jets fans' favorite moves this year, because one of their favorite moves this season, because it's the way they got it done. This was not expected to happen. This was a trade that Douglas pulled off, and it really feels like a steal. One of the more underrated tackles in football. Jets needed one. They got one. And another guy that's benefiting from this is Carter Warren. Moses is going to drop a lot of knowledge on him this year. So locker room-wise, on the field-wise, this should be a really home run addition for New York this season. All right, now we move on to DJ Reed, cornerback, entering the final year of his contract. Just some quick background. DJ Reed stands at 5'9", 188 pounds, 27 years old. He will be 28 midway through this year. In November, he will turn 28. So entering his age 27-28 season. In total, he is entering his 7th NFL season. He was a 2018 fifth-round draft pick, 142nd overall out of Kansas State, spent his first 2 years with the San Francisco 49ers under Robert Saleh as the defensive coordinator, and then went to Seattle for 2 seasons, and then joined the Jets in 2022, which was the first year that New York has really transformed into an elite defense after a really poor year one under Saleh in 2021. They've turned it around in 22 and 23 and hope for the same here in 24. So DJ Reed reunited with Saleh, and he's been excellent. DJ Reed has been one of the most underrated cornerbacks in the NFL. He has been one of the Jets' best players on defense, and he's been one of Joe Douglas's best free agent signing. Douglas has had a lot of struggles in free agency. He's had a lot of free agency classes that you look back on and you kind of just, you don't even know really what to say. It's pretty ugly. But DJ Reed is one of Douglas's only and best free agent signings. And he's been great. And he's entering his final year of his 3-year contract, $33 million deal. And look, I don't really know what's going to happen with DJ Reed next year. You know, I would love to say that this time next year we're talking about a DJ Reed player preview, that this isn't it. But the Jets going to have a decision to make. And they're going to have to decide between DJ Reed or Michael Carter II. Both guys are going to looking for contracts next season. And on top of that, they're going to have to pay Sauce Gardner number one history-making cornerback money. I think Sauce Gardner is going to break the bank. He is going to become the highest-paid safety. He is going to surpass Jair Alexander as the highest-paid corner, not safety, I apologize, as the highest-paid corner in the NFL. And he's going to break the bank and become the highest-paid corner ever. So you have to give Sauce his money. And then you have to decide between DJ Reed and Michael Carter. And DJ Reed kind of talked about, during OTAs that the Jets is in the ball is in the Jets' court. He's going to go out there this year. He's going to do everything he can to perform at a high level and play out the rest of this contract, help the Jets win, and cross that bridge in the offseason. I think DJ Reed understands where the Jets are at, understanding that they've got a lot of contract things that they'll have to figure out not only in 2025, but even in 2026 and beyond. And I also think there's part of DJ Reed that while he loves it here and while him and Sauce have created a great tandem, if Reed has another huge season, he might look for number one cornerback money elsewhere, and the Jets won't be able to give that to him. They're going to pay him as the number two. DJ Reed might not want that. He's probably going to want to get paid closer to be a number one because there is a lot of teams that would take DJ Reed as their number one corner. And that's what makes DJ Reed so great for the Jets is there's probably 60% of, you could probably think of over half the NFL teams. If you say, hey, DJ Reed will be your number one corner week one, most of them would probably take it. And that just shows you how great this Jets cornerback core is of Sauce, Reed, and Michael Carter II. Now, to get what DJ Reed has done through his first 2 years and the contract stuff, that will get ironed out during the season and the offseason. We'll see if the Jets get anything done. I don't think they will. I think he's going to enter free agency, but we will see. Either way, his 2 seasons with the Jets, he played 32 games, had 156 total tackles, 2 interceptions, and 21 passes defended. To break down what he did last year in 15 games, specifically last season, 76 total tackles. He had 1 pick, 9 passes defended. Alongside Sauce, just very underrated and really, really good. He's had career years in back-to-back seasons. He has taken off in this system, has taken off under Robert Saleh, and has taken off alongside Sauce Gardner. And I want to read this stat just to show how good Sauce and DJ Reed have been alongside each other. So in 31 games played together, Reed and Sauce have combined for 288 total tackles, 53 pass deflections, and 4 interceptions. The duo has allowed 1,797 total yards with an average of 57.96 yards a game and has only allowed 4 touchdowns. As such, Pro Football Network ranked them both as top 10 cornerbacks in the NFL. Gardner took the number 1 spot while Reed finished number 10. There's been many different rankings about where Reed ranks as a corner. If you look statistically, he's top 10. He doesn't get quite the hype, quite the praise as Sauce and some of the others on this Jets defense, which is why he's fallen out of some of these top 10 rankings. But statistically, this is a guy that's top 10. And statistically, DJ Reed and Sauce Gardner are the best 1-2 punch at cornerback in the NFL. And there really isn't much debate. Now, I want to break down something with DJ Reed last year where he was excellent last season, but he did have some struggles, and this is where some of his numbers are a little skewed from last year. You look at his numbers last year, they were really solid, but there was 2 games that really hurt him. It was the Miami Dolphins game, the 2 Miami games. He really struggled against the Dolphins. But in the other 13 games he played, he was really, really good. He had 478 cover snaps, 32 of 57 receptions for 56.1% completion percentage, 286 yards, 8.9 yards per reception, 2.5 yak per reception, 1 touchdown, no picks, 0.598 yards per coverage snap, and 5 yards per target. That was in 13 games last year of the 15. What makes his numbers look a little less impressive from a deeper analytical standpoint were those 2 Miami games where he allowed 189 yards, allowed a touchdown, allowed an 84.6% completion percentage. But if you take away those 2 Miami games last year and you look at the other 13 games, more of his entire body of work as opposed to just looking at those 2 games, Reed would finish 15th in catch rate, 6th in yards per reception, 3rd in yak per reception, 5th in yards per cover snap, and 4th in yards per target among all cornerbacks in the NFL that played at least 400 cover snaps in 2023. So really, he was, again, very, very impressive last year. I know sometimes the numbers maybe look a little skewed because of those 2 Miami games, but if you take those away and look at his full body of work, DJ Reed was once again a top 10 corner, and in some areas, top 5 in certain statistical categories. Really here, the Jets have 2 top cornerbacks. They have 2 number 1 cornerbacks. Sauce Gardner's your elite number 1. DJ Reed on a lot of teams would be a number 1. That's how good he's been. And that's how underrated he's been. And we'll see what happens at the end of this season, but 2 years in New York, it's been excellent. It's been everything you could imagine as a Jets fan from when New York signed Reed from Seattle in 2022. Had a big year in 2022, 80 tackles, 12 passes defended. Last year, missed 2 games, but still 76 total tackles, 9 passes defended, and has been the perfect guy next to Sauce, has been the perfect complement. And Reed has also shown the ability to stop number 1 corners, to stop number 1 wide receivers, because we know Sauce hasn't traveled through the first 2 years of his NFL career. Now, we might see him travel more this year, but DJ Reed many times this season and many times in 2022 as well got put up against some of the best elite number 1 receivers in football, and were able to contain them. I mean, look at what he was able to do in that first game against the Buffalo Bills last year on Monday night. He made a couple really good plays against Stephon Diggs and was with these guys toe-to-toe, stride for stride, and was able to contain some of the league's best. And I think you'll probably see even Reed's numbers increase this year even more if Sauce does travel, because DJ Reed's just going to smother these number 2 wide receivers. He's just going to smother them if Sauce does travel. But one of the more underrated corners in football, kind of in why I wanted to put these 2 together in an episode, because I think they're 2 really underrated players at their position, and they both deserve a lot of praise, and they both deserve a lot of hype as we enter this 2024 campaign. DJ Reed will look to finish out this 3-year, $33 million contract on a high note. We'll see what happens in the offseason. That's obviously very long from now, but Reed's focus is on this season only, and you'll cross that bridge in the offseason when you get there. But DJ Reed, another season inbound. I will say this for DJ Reed, and I will say this for a lot of other guys. You know, he's had 2 interceptions in 32 games with the Jets. The Jets have never been a huge interception team. For example, Sauce Gardner isn't a huge interception cornerback because these are more of your typical lockdown cornerbacks where they're not targeted much. That's how good they've been. But I think this year, you're going to see all of the corners, DJ Reed, Sauce, a lot of these guys, them 2 specifically, because they're going to be covering number 1, number 2 wide receivers, the quarterback's top 2 options. They are going, I think you're going to see interception numbers increase. I wouldn't be surprised to see Sauce increase. I wouldn't be surprised to see DJ Reed increase in the interception total. even the safeties as well, because the Jets are going to be playing with a lot more leads. Quarterbacks late in games are going to have to throw more. And late in games, game on the line, quarterbacks tend to force things because it's desperation. They need to get the ball out. They need to force passes. They're going to try and get past. They're going to try and get the ball to their best receivers, even if they're covered. And that'll open up the door for more interceptions, more mistakes late in games by quarterbacks that the Jets corners, Jets safeties can capitalize on. And that same thing goes for DJ Reed as well. He's a guy that can capitalize on those interception opportunities, and which would take his game to another level and potentially get him even more recognition and probably will get him more money. So big year incoming for DJ Reed here in 2024. Let me know in the comments section down below what your thoughts are on both Morgan Moses, right tackle, and DJ Reed, cornerback, here in 2024, what both players will do. And that is your Wednesday edition. That is your second installment of the New York Jets player previews. We will see you next time on Friday for the New York Jets player preview. We'll be breaking down 2 more players, 1 on offense, 1 on defense. And until then, make sure to please like and subscribe for those of you on YouTube. And as always, JETS, 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 Jets.